All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here, Mark P Markets. Thank you for watching another Bitcoin video analysis session. If you're new here, welcome. Let me explain to you quickly how this works. First, I'm going to run through the economic calendar because we all want to be aware of what events can be coming out this week that can affect our trades, whether you're a day trader, swing trader, etc. Second, we're going to get into today's chart, and we're going to talk about the situation, basically the title of the stream, which is avoid getting stuck on the wrong side. All right, and there's a perfect example of that, what's occurring right now with the price action, which I'm going to talk about shortly. Then after that, we're going to talk about the Trade Scanner Pro and see if I could find some trade signals on the smaller time frames to illustrate how the script works. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, you could check the links in the description. All right, so let's get started. Let me just pull up my slide here. Just give me a second. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. All right, next, let me just say hello to my people. Stian, good to see you. All right, Alex, how are you? Alex from Romania. So yeah, the previous week I had not streamed, but I should be back more on a regular schedule. Stian, you got my email, correct? I sent Stian an email about some updates for the bot. So real quick, if you're new, just want to explain a couple of things. We have this Trade Scanner Pro script, which is for TradingView. If you'd like to try it out for 14 days, there's a link in the description. The script, what it does is it basically, it's a confirmation and management tool. Okay. Oh, cool. I haven't seen it yet. Thanks. It's a tool to help you confirm and also to manage intraday trades. It's really meant for day traders, and sort of you could use it for swing trades, but it was really meant for day traders. All right, you can try it out for 14 days free. Now, if you want to receive a trade each day for free, which is sort of a sample, that comes from the Trade Scanner bot, which again, I just sent Stian an email about updating. But the Trade Scanner bot works on a larger time frame, and it's best for people who don't want to get their hands dirty, right? It sends out a trade for free every day. So if you want to get on that list, there's a link in the description. Now, if you want to join our Discord community, there's a link for that as well. There's a free area. Alex and Stian moderate the area there. They do a great job. They answer questions. If you need technical support, it's all there. So you can check that out. Now, if you're interested in something like a TradingView subscription, you don't need one to operate the Trade Scanner Pro, but there are many benefits that come along with having a TradingView subscription. So if you choose to subscribe to it, consider the affiliate link that we have in the description. Stian will get a small cut of your subscription, but it goes a long way into helping him support the community. He does a lot of work behind the scenes that you may not be able to appreciate. Okay, so try that out. If you're interested in TradingView, consider that link. Also, if you want another exchange like Bybit or MEXC, you want to try one out and you're a non-US resident, consider the affiliate links in the description as well. Stian gets a small cut of that also when you fund an account and place trades. So something to keep in mind. Again, it goes a long way into helping to support the community. On top of that, if you're not interested in any of those things, but you just want to send them a tip outright, there's a Polygon wallet address and there's an Ethereum wallet address. Consider that if you're feeling generous. Again, it goes a long way to help him. I mean, look, he's here on the stream today while he's he's cooking and he's doing the dishes. That's a sign of a good guy. All right, cool. Thanks, Dean, for joining us while you're doing the dishes. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm not expecting a whole lot of people today. It's been kind of slow, but this month should be picking up a bit in terms of average volume overall. I've talked a lot about that, especially back in August. All right, but first, let's go over the economic calendar, right, before I make my screen bigger and we talk about what's going on here. In fact, let me just make this bigger over here before we get into it. We'll get into it here in a moment. So economic calendar. If you haven't checked it, TradingView has one. There are plenty of economic calendars you can check. Make sure you check it at the beginning of every week. So this week, what we have begins with tomorrow. We have the Bank of New Zealand. They have their rate announcement. So that's not a major number, but if you're in any Kiwi cross or anything like that, it can have an effect. So keep that in mind, Bank of New Zealand. Second, on Wednesday, which is the 9th, we have FOMC meeting minutes, and that usually comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Now, the meeting minutes are usually not a big deal, but if you day trade, it can have an effect intraday. It can cause a hiccup. So just be aware of it. These numbers are more important really for day traders than anyone else. That's on Wednesday. On Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, we have the CPI report. That's a pretty big deal. That if there are any surprises in there, that moves markets. That's again 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Make sure you're aware of that. And I believe that's the only one on Thursday that's worth mentioning. Yeah, and then on Friday, we have the PPI, or the producer price index. I believe that's an 8:30 number as well. You want to double check that one on the timestamp. But I believe the PPI is at 8:30. That's not as important as the CPI, but be aware of it. And also on Friday, there's the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, or whatever they call that, Michigan Consumer Sentiment. That I believe comes out at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Double check on that. That is not as big of a number, but for example, if you're in some kind of intraday position, there could be a spike of some kind, and you may be completely thrown off and confused as to what's going on. Be aware of those numbers, right? So those are pretty much the things worth mentioning this week. Any questions about that, let me know. Now, let's get into the chart here. I'm going to make it bigger. All right, there we go. And let's talk about this. So, and you guys can chime in on the chat if you want. One observation that I've been making just overall with the type of stuff that we do here, we analyze charts, and I talk about very specific short-term strategies, and everything that I pretty much cover is really relevant to day traders and swing traders. I really don't go outside of that scope. But from what I understand, people have more of an interest in investing, right? Yes or no? You guys agree with that? Let me know, or let me know in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. But the impression I get is that people are generally more, or there's a greater interest in investing. Now, I have some theories as to why this may be, and maybe I'm slow to realize some of these things. But for that reason, I am considering adjusting or making some updates to the Trade Scanner bot to cater more toward larger time frame strategies like dollar cost averaging and investing in something that may be good for 3 months to a year type of thing rather than a few days. Any comments on that? Let me know. All right, so we're going to go now. Let's go back to the smaller time frames here, and let's talk briefly about the analysis that I shared on TradingView yesterday. As you can see, each week when I do my analysis on TradingView, I draw an illustration on the chart. This is these blue lines right here, these squiggly lines are the illustration. And that is the scenario out of a smaller range of scenarios. That is a scenario that I suspect will unfold over the coming week. If you go back and look at all my previous weeks, I mean, my scenarios are very similar to what the market eventually does, right? The outcome that eventually comes out. I draw the illustration in advance, obviously. So do the before and after on TradingView, and you will see that it's pretty close, right? It's not perfect, but it's close. Now, how do I do that? What's behind that? For one, I'm looking at two components. I talk about this all the time. I talk about trend and I talk about levels. And I'm looking at them on multiple time frames, but for this time frame, right, the levels, as you can see, all these horizontal lines on my chart have not changed since March. So if you're struggling with this, you're having a hard time with Bitcoin, chances are you're overreacting to misinformation and you have no awareness of where you are in the bigger picture, what kind of trend you're dealing with, and your expectations are misaligned with the reality of Bitcoin. So if you're having trouble with that, consider cleaning up the information that you consume, because that's where it all starts. That's where it all stems from. You follow too much news. You're following too many fake gurus they don't know what they're talking about, or they're just looking for clicks, right? And you don't realize that the information that you consume is extremely low quality. There's too much of that today, and there's a lot of incentives to spread misinformation. It's up to you to filter it out. And that's what I try to help people do here each week. Although it's not very appreciated, only by a small group. Most people, they're not interested in cleaning up the information. They're only interested in, hey, I want to be a billionaire tomorrow. Okay, I understand. But for your own benefit, you have to grasp a couple of important concepts. Number one, markets are mostly random. You need to understand that. The better you understand that, the less you will be fooled by people coming out making all these ridiculous claims, like they know where Bitcoin will be tomorrow and next week and all that other nonsense. That's nothing but nonsense. So you have to stop enjoying, the lies. It's nice to be lied to. They usually tell us things we want to hear, but you have to be objective. Right? That's what I try to do here. Now, let's talk about this chart. And let's talk about what's going on. So I talk about in this stream how not to get caught on the wrong side. What do I mean by that? Well, I just finished talking about levels and finished talking about trend, right? So day trading greater than investing, Stelio says. Okay, cool. All right, good to know. Yeah, I'd like to know. I mean, I'm sure we all have an interest in investing. I just want to know I'm trying to gauge, is there more of an interest in investing or less? But I mean, I'm interested in investing too. I don't just day trade. I want to come out with some more investing material and more investing ideas. In fact, I want the bot to help out with that. So, and I believe that would appeal to a growing crowd. I suspect that the trader crowd is a shrinking crowd, but that's just a guess. I don't have any numbers really to back that up, besides my sales numbers. So, which I don't know how accurate they are in terms of reflecting the population, especially since my marketing efforts aren't the greatest. So, all right, back to the chart. So what I want to talk about here, how not to get caught. Now, first of all, you have to understand where you are in the bigger picture. So whether you're an investor, whether you're a trader, you have to understand where you are in the roadmap. The roadmap is the daily chart. So it can at least give you an idea of, how can I characterize the risk of my location? Well, what location? This is the current location right here, right? What do we have up here? What's this blue line? That is a key resistance level, 64K. It's been broken a couple of times, but let me point something out here. Look at all these little tails that touched 64K previously. Look over here too, right? Touch the area. Look at that. Look at this. That was a bullish. These are bullish touches, right? When it was a support. But look at these more recent resistance touches. You see that? If you were cognizant of that, that's extremely valuable information, because you can then anticipate rejections off that area. And if you have a way to confirm those rejections and measure risk, then it can be a profit opportunity, especially on smaller time frames. But if you're completely unaware of where you are on the bigger picture, you're just playing a slot machine, right? So we need to be able to characterize the risk. This is a very important part of being able to avoid getting on the wrong side. So up in this area, we should be anticipating shorts because it's a resistance. Now, it doesn't guarantee that we'll have a short that will work out, but on smaller time frames, like I said, there was a ton of opportunity here. Eventually it broke, right? So it doesn't work 100% of the time. But the thing is, when you get these confirmations from a tool like the Trade Scanner Pro, which is that's what it was meant for, or you have your own way of confirming at such a level, it helps you stay out of trouble. For one, you should not be taking swing trade longs at such a level. It's highly risky, right? And then the one time that maybe you were taking longs the whole time and you're like, yeah, see, I'm cool. It worked. Then you get stuck with this. Okay, you get stuck in this situation, which can be very painful, especially if you're using leverage, right? Because this was unexpected. This just kind of came out of nowhere. Now, speaking of this red situation, let's make this a little bit bigger, all right? Because I want to make a point here, especially when it comes to the wrong side. Now, if you look at my one of my recent analyses on TradingView, I drew a pullback scenario where I was anticipating the bounce at the 64K support because it went above, and I anticipated pullback for support. Now, look what happened here on this time frame. So again, we know that 64K is some kind of relevant level. But in order to go long, which is what I was anticipating, like the bounce up to 70K or something like that, we had to get what over here? What was required over here on this time frame? Who wants to answer that question? Let me see what the people are saying in the chat here. Hey, Armin, good to see you. If the bot could be useful for investing, yeah, okay. See that, Steen? See what he said? Gary Network. I don't really check other coins, but put the symbol. And if I have some time here, I'll check the symbol. Can you put the symbol for Gary Network? I'm not familiar with that coin. Monica says confirmation. Inside bar confirmation, Armin says. Okay, so confirmation is the correct answer. It doesn't have to be an inside bar. It could be. It could also be a pin bar. But the point is, we never got. Is there confirmation here? Actually, I just gave you the answer. We never got confirmation here for a long. Right? On smaller time frames, there was something. How do I know that? Well, just look at this candle here. Look at the tail. Look at this. Right? Look at the bottom tail on this candle to the top tail. See that rectangle I just drew there? Right? That rectangle encompasses the bottom tail over here and the top tail up here. Right? See that? So that means on smaller time frames, there was something. And that something, let's see, what was that something worth? Let's see, from the bottom to the top, that was 1,200 points inside that little, what looks to be like a nothing movement, okay? On this time frame, it looks like nothing, but this little section here was worth 1,200 points. Now, of course, you're not going to buy the bottom and sell the top of it, but inside of a 1,200 point fluctuation, there's money to be made on smaller time frames. Perhaps you were watching a 1 minute chart. Typical 1 minute profit objectives are a couple hundred points. That's a lot less than 1,200, right? So there's a lot of small profit opportunities inside movements like this. And you would be prepared for that type of movement because at the time, this was a support level generally, right? And even when it broke this blue line, you still had all of this old support back here. Look at all this, right? Look at all this back here. Look at the tails over here. So that can help you. That information can help you because you're anticipating something, right? But you need a confirmation. On this time frame, there was nothing. On smaller time frames, there were opportunities. Now, I'm not talking about smaller time frames just yet. For most people, smaller time frames are very hard to play. But let's just kind of keep it simple and just talk about this time frame. So if you were looking for longs, like my squiggle or my scenario suggested, there was never a confirmation here. So what does that mean? That means there was never a reason to go long. How many people bought into this because they had a hunch, because some fraud told them to buy into it, or whatever, right? How many people bought into that and then find themselves stuck in this candle and possibly margined out? Because it's a very common mistake to misuse leverage, especially on smaller time frames, which is really where it was meant to be used. And you stay in the position and you don't expect a larger move. Your losses are magnified and you're getting liquidated, right? That happens all the time. First, on this time frame, there was never a reason to get long in the first place. That is how you avoid getting caught on the wrong side. You don't step in front of something. You wait for confirmation. Confirmation can come in multiple forms. There's not just one form, or you can have tools to help you identify that confirmation and identify the risk, because just because something confirms doesn't guarantee it's going to work out. But your risk should be defined so that if it doesn't work out, you're getting out at a reasonable price for a reasonable and expected loss, right? Not like, oh man, I'm stuck in this thing, I don't know where to get out. This happens to beginners all the time, right? So the point is, no confirmation, no trade, and this thing gets hammered. Now that's the reason why I'm focusing on this is because that's a very important point when it comes to the illustrations that I draw on my chart each week, right? They're all dependent on confirmation. And I don't want people to have the wrong idea and be like, oh, he called this and the market completely went the opposite way. This guy sucks, right? If that's you, you have a lot to learn, right? And also I'm trying to make you aware of the nature of these illustrations, because again, they're not forecasts. They're one possibility of many. The key is the market confirming or not. If the market doesn't confirm, then the illustration or the scenario no longer counts. That's called adjusting. And as a trader, you have to be good at that, okay? Because the markets are always changing for whatever reason. And if you're like, well, I need to know why, you don't need to know why. It's just, it changes because there are some reasons out there that we aren't privy to yet. And the supply and demand changes. And that's that. Accept the price action because it knows everything that's going on in the world. We know practically nothing. Now, so talking about confirmation, let's talk about this situation right here. So we retested 64K from this 60K bottom. Notice, this is basically, see this doji over here? That's like it doesn't fit the exact definition of an inside bar, but man, that's pretty close, right? So break of inside bar high. Look at this one, inside bar. This little doji here is an inside bar. Break of inside bar high, once again, was a profitable trade on smaller time frames. Not a great idea on this time frame, but you can use this as a guide. Oh, I got the inside bar breakout. Okay, I should be working with longs. In a situation like this, with the Trade Scanner Pro, that's where you're looking for continuations in a situation like this, because you got a buy signal, right? So it's likely to work its way higher, and you can anticipate how high because there's a resistance up there. 64K is a key resistance, right? Now, that's if you're the day trader. But if you're the swing trader and you take this trade and you have no way of measuring your risk really, right? Your risk is kind of going to be defined by this low over here, which is kind of wide. And your profit objective is going to be defined by this resistance up here. It may break through, but you're taking a greater risk. This is not an ideal, these are not ideal spots for swing trades, right? But they are good. It's good information for day trades or like intraday trend trades, if you want to call it that. But here's what I'm getting at. So up in here, at one point, this candle was completely solid. At one point, this candle looked like this, right? It was green and it looked like that. Now, if you overreact to what you see, you're going to find yourself in this situation often. You cannot react to what you see. You have to recognize we're in a resistance. Chances are selling activity is going to come in, and we got it. Look at the pin bar, right? It came, but you have to be prepared for that. So if you're using the Trade Scanner Pro, for example, and you see price is in the vicinity of 64K, but your Trade Scanner Pro trend is bullish, you should know to switch to counter trend because you're looking for bearish reversals. Now, again, that's an advanced thing for a lot of people. If you're a beginner, you're going to have a hard time. I realize with the Trade Scanner Pro, I was hoping to build a tool that beginners could really appreciate and use. But I realize from the feedback that I got, beginners just don't know how to use it. And I try to teach people each week when I do these streams how to use it properly. But I have over 2 decades of experience, so it's hard for me to deliver information that would be valuable to someone that's been doing this 6 months, because there's so many things that you just don't understand or don't know or take for granted. And all that stuff. And plus you're filled with lots of misinformation, and I can't unfill that from you. I try, but I can't control the type of information and how you value it. That's your problem. And, I can only tell you it's bad for you, but, most people aren't going to listen. I can't change that. So my point is this. You could have been prepared for this and not to go long, right? Again, avoid getting on the wrong side. Risk is high for swing trade longs. We are now getting confirmation. I drew this illustration in anticipation that this resistance would stick. I drew this yesterday, okay? So I anticipated 64K would, I could have been wrong. It could have blown right through, but the market chose to respect it. Okay, now this candle is not closed yet. This candle may finish at the high, which would change the story as of the story that I'm coming up with right now. It would change if we had a strong close, but it doesn't look that way so far, right? So once this candle closes, if we take out this low right here, the pin bar low, at one point, actually this thing was completely, there was no open to close. It was just a complete line. It was just a straight line, right? But we got some buying back in there. Doesn't matter. If it closes like this with the pin bar and the next candle opens and the next candle takes out that low, and it looks like that, that's a sell signal on this time frame. So if you're long, if you just got long because hey, this thing's going to 70K, I can feel it. This thing is giving you a sell signal at this point, which means your risk is now very high if you're long. That price can follow this line that I drew here and retest this 60K major support. And then that's where I'd be looking for the next bounce. That's why I drew this here. I'm anticipating. The market may not produce this scenario, but my point here is don't get caught on the wrong side when the market is pretty much telling you what it wants to do. And if it confirms, you stay out of its way. Now, can you go short? You can, but you have to have a way of defining your risk, because just because it's giving you the sell signal does not guarantee. We never have guarantees because markets are random. It may only go halfway and then some news comes out and next thing you know, it's pushing 65K, right? So I drew this arrow right here pointing at the 64K area because that is such an important level. And whenever we get there, you should be prepared for something. Like, so if we get there from a lower price, this was 60K, we got back to 64K, 64K is a resistance. We should be anticipating selling activity. We should be looking for confirmations on the bearish side. And if we're not comfortable going short, that's okay. You don't have to be, but at least you are now prepared with enough information to step aside and be like, all right, bearish activity, not interested. And then go do something else. Go look at something else, right? And by the way, these concepts, I use Bitcoin all the time because I just like to use it. It has a lot of great examples. You can apply this to any market. You can apply it to a stock, Forex pair. The concept is the same. We're talking about support and resistance levels. We're talking about price structure and price action. No matter what market you look at, it's the same. That's why I talk about Bitcoin all the time. Although, I'm looking, if I'm going to be getting more to like investing content, obviously I'm going to be covering investment ideas that hopefully the bot can pick. Okay. I would like the bot to pick the ideas and then I can elaborate on them further. All right. Anyway, that's just an aside. So this is what I'm anticipating, and these are your inflection points to anticipate the type of action and confirm the type of action. Now, what time frame you choose to work on is going to be a big factor in your decision-making tree as you go forward. I'm talking about the big picture here. This is actually the simpler picture. But when you're working like on a 1 minute or a 5 minute or a 15 or a 30 minute, right, that is going to require more details. And especially if you're not using any tools. The Trade Scanner Pro solves that problem. All right, so you understand where I'm going, where I'm getting at here? You have to come up with your scenario in advance. Your time frame is going to have an effect on that. Like, for example, when I was pointing out all these little touches back here, these bearish touches back here, on your smaller time frames, you should have been prepared for bearish activity. You should have been looking for day trade shorts. That's what you should have been looking for. Eventually it broke, okay? And look, eventually it retested, never gave you the support, although it tried. You could have been anticipating longs here on smaller time frames and perhaps gotten away with something. You could have taken some losing trades in there too. But you shouldn't have been going long on the swing trade side because there was absolutely no reason to do that on this time frame. So do you get my point here? Do you have any questions about that? Because that's like kind of the key point of the stream. Hey, Sam, how are you? Would you consider this a double bottom on the 15-minute? Okay, I was looking at the 15-minute before. I'll answer that question. That's a good question. Oh, from Pakistan. Hey, Fahad, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Giovanni, good to see you guys. Okay, so Sam has a question here. I'm going to get to that here in a second. But do you see, do you understand what I'm saying? Can anyone rephrase what I'm saying here in a couple of words or maybe like a brief paragraph? I want to just see if it's coming across. Because sometimes, again, I may speak in a very abstract language and you may understand the words, but you may not understand the point that I'm trying to make. And, I'm thinking, oh, but I just talked about all this simple stuff. And it's not simple to someone who's new at this or relatively new. Like if you've been doing this 3 months, 6 months, less than a year, you're relatively new. And I'm trying to help people out in that area improve by, for one, taking in information that has greater value and minimizing all the misinformation. That's problem number one for most people is you're consuming misinformation and you're believing it, right? You have to stop that. That's a key thing. I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm a big proponent of less is more. You have to be a minimalist. And the reason for that is all the information we consume is garbage. Understand, we are not, I assume if you're watching me, you're not an institutional trader or investor, right? You're not a hedge fund. You're not a bank. You're not a Forex dealer. You're not a market maker. You're a retail investor or trader, which means you or me, none of us have access to good information. But there are people out there who do. And those people are what you are up against. And because they have a huge advantage over us, chances are you're going to lose your money. Now, I know no one wants to hear that. And all the fake gurus are going to tell the opposite. No, we're going to make money. You're not going to make money. I'm telling you right now, right? Especially as a trader, it's extremely hard. But I'm telling you, the reason for that is you consume misinformation all day and believe it. That's the first problem. So get over that problem and you'll start to maybe better appreciate what I'm trying to tell you. All right. Bitcoin going to 100K. Right. Right, Giovanni. Yeah. All right. So more like the 1 hour time frame. Well, I'm not sure what you mean there. More like the 1 hour time frame? Okay. Yeah. So but you guys get what I'm saying. So any questions about this? So do you understand my concept? No one summarized my what I just taught you guys. So do you understand where I'm getting at with this? How to avoid getting caught on the wrong side? Because if you're not aware of these things, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side. Especially in the way this market has been. I mean, look at how Bitcoin has been going back a few months. This is a range-bound market. And it's very easy to think we're always in a trend. If you're looking at smaller time frames, a movement like this, you're going to think it's a trend because on a 15-minute, it's a trend, but not on the bigger picture. So knowing your bigger picture first and having a grasp of where the key levels are will protect you from going long up here and going short here, which is what a lot of people will tell you to do because, again, they're focused on, 5-minute time frames, which will completely mislead you at key levels. You need to be aware of that. Okay, cool. All right, so I don't see any questions. Let me get to Sam's question here. So Sam asks a question about the 15-minute chart. Let me reduce this chart here. So Sam, I happen to have the 15-minute chart up here. I was looking at this before, and Sam was asking if this is a double bottom. I mean, yes, on a 15-minute time frame, we can characterize this as a double bottom. There was some support here. Look, there was an old resistance back here. So there's something there for that, and that would be relevant for this time frame or even a smaller time frame, like a 1 minute. So yeah, I would agree with that you have a double bottom. What is the trend structure though, right? And that's an important question. Don't get focused just on the double bottom. You got to zoom out a bit, like on the hourly. What is the trend structure? This trend structure is bullish, right? Higher lows, higher highs, all right? But we know, again, don't forget the bigger picture. Let's draw 64K on here. Where is 64K? 64K is right here. This is 64K, that line, right? I just finished doing a whole 30 minutes on that 64K level. So we had a bullish structure going back up to 64K, and we're still fooling around up there. So yes, this is a double bottom, but my expectations for longs here, while I would be looking for a long on a 1 minute, my expectations would not be very high that we're going to blow through 64K. The market will have to prove that first, and then I'll change. Okay, so the structure, this bullish structure, higher lows, higher highs, hasn't changed yet, right? So we can anticipate the higher high, but unless it changes. Also notice the trend on this 1 hour is bullish based on the Trade Scanner Pro. All right, so cool. Now let me now that we're on that, and I answer Sam's question, let me introduce you guys to the Trade Scanner Pro and what it does. So if you're new, I can explain this to you real quick. I do this on every stream. So the Trade Scanner Pro is based on a momentum, is basically, how do I explain this? It's a momentum-based reversal system. It's a momentum-based trend reversal system. Okay, no, I'm sorry. It's a trend following, I get the words mixed up. It's a trend following momentum reversal system. What does that mean? That's a mouthful, right? So let me draw for you what that means. So it's a trend following system, meaning it first detects a trend. The trend could be bullish or bearish. Right? We can have range bound trends, but in this case, it only looks for bullish or bearish. So let's say the trend is bullish, right? From a low to a high. Okay, cool. It defines that first. And in that bullish trend, you're going to have most likely a pullback at some point. It measures the pullback. It waits for the pullback. And then when the pullback gets to like a point that looks like that, it's looking at the changes in price momentum. It wants to see something like this. When it sees a change in price momentum and certain criteria is met, it will give you a signal in the form of trade suggestions. So you have a stop loss order, you have an entry price, which looks like this, and then you have a take profit, a profit objective, which usually looks like that. Okay? The stop loss to the take profit ratio is fixed at 1.5 to 1, which means if you risk $100 in the trade, the profit objective is $150, right? That's the ratio. Now you could change that ratio, but that's the standard ratio, which means if you follow the Trade Scanner Pro on a trend following basis, over time, it should actually improve your chances of coming out ahead, assuming that you're patient with it and you have something, you understand how to use the tool properly. It is not a forecasting tool. It is a confirmation and trade management tool. I get these beginners, they sign up all the time, they try it out for like 3 hours, and then they cancel because they think that this is a forecasting tool and they have absolutely no idea how to use it. Now, I do these streams in hopes to teach people how to use it properly, but if you don't use it properly, it will not help you. This is not the solution to all your problems. It will not help you grow your hair back. Trust me, I tried, and here are the results. Look at my head. So you understand that it's a confirmation tool, and the confirmation comes in the form of these orders. Okay. Now, what makes the Trade Scanner Pro even more special, especially for experienced traders, is there's something called counter trend mode. Counter trend mode is where the Trade Scanner Pro will ignore the trend and give you a momentum change signal based on just the momentum changing, irregardless of the trend. That typically it'll look for a point like this, counter trend in a bullish trend, right? It'll call the counter trend move and then look for the short in this case, right? But you don't just put that on for the sake of putting it on. You have to know in advance that you're looking for such a move. And yes, that can be confusing and complicated. That's why it's more experienced traders can usually appreciate that. But I want the beginner to understand how that works. It's important because it's an important feature of the Trade Scanner Pro. Now, that's basically how it works in a nutshell. So let me just show you real quick on the Trade Scanner Pro, the settings panel, because when you get the Trade Scanner Pro and you first turn it on, all of these checkboxes are blank. You have to turn them on. So trailing stop, you have to turn that on, right? Then there's show previous trades. This shows you trades that were taking place that you could see the result of. Then there's heads up. You want to turn that on. Heads up gives you a warning that a signal is likely to appear in the next 3 to 5 candles. So if you're on a 1 minute chart, that's in the next 3 to 5 minutes. If you're on an hourly chart, that's in the next 3 to 5 hours. All right. It's very valuable to have that. And you can even set notifications up for that. And then, of course, there's counter trend. Right? That's the counter trend mode. And look, when I put this in counter trend mode, a trade shows up on this 15 minute. But I'm going to turn that off right now. That's what you have to do when you first get the Trade Scanner Pro. Now, if you notice, I got these red columns all over the place. Those are the heads up columns, right? Because it paints the candle orange. The orange candles tell you that a trade is likely to appear soon. You can set your notifications on TradingView here. If you set this thing right here, you can actually, if you put this and you change this to the Trade Scanner Pro, where is it? Is this it? Right, Trade Scanner Pro. Okay, you change that, and it will tell you when a heads up occurs. It will tell you when a signal appears, and it will tell you when a profit objective is reached. Right now, with the free version of TradingView, you can only set one notification, but with a premium version of TradingView, you can set multiple notifications, which of course is much more helpful. So the free version, you can operate Trade Scanner Pro with the free version of TradingView, but the premium version has those benefits. If you're interested in that, check the link in the description. And like I said before, we have that affiliate link for Stian. Please consider the affiliate link. All right, so I explained to you how it works. I showed you the panel. Now what I want to do is I want to see if I can show you how a trade plays out. If you watch my previous streams and you watch like this portion of the stream, there's plenty of examples of me taking trades on paper and watching them play out, right? It's very interesting. Now, I show you on a 1 minute chart because you can see all the action. I don't recommend 1 minute charts for a beginner. If you start with 1 minute charts, you're going to have problems because you don't understand how to come up with the idea. I'm going to show you that now, but I would recommend practicing that before you use real money. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize this chart here, right? And we're going to start with 2 charts. I'm going to walk you through the 5 steps of preparing yourself for using such a tool so that you can use it more effectively. And you know what? If you want to watch a stream that I conducted back in July, if you go to my YouTube channel, right, the Mark P Markets YouTube channel, there is a stream called 5 Steps to Better Signals or something like that. I believe it's called. It was in July. It's 1 hour, and I go through the 5 steps that I'm basically going to run through here very quickly to show you how to arrive at a trade idea so that you can then use the Trade Scanner Pro for confirmation. Now, I'm going to change this chart on the left here. I'm going to change it to a 1 hour chart, okay? And I'm also going to change, let me make this bigger here for a moment. I'm going to change the contract on the chart to Bitcoin, right? Can I spell properly? No, I can't spell. Bitcoin perp. Perp means perpetual futures contract, right? Because that's what I'm paper trading here. And I'm going to change it to MEXC. That's the exchange because it just matches my other chart. That's all. And Stian has an affiliate link for that, so I like to show it. Stian says here, takes the settings for the Trade Scanner Pro. Oh, here's what he's saying about the notifications. At the time of creating, so if it is counter trend, you will only get counter trend. Okay, interesting. Thank you for pointing that out, Stian. So again, as a beginner, experiment with that because again, you don't want to be sitting in front of your computer for hours waiting for signals, like especially if you're using a 5 minute or a 15 minute or 30 minute chart. Signals can take quite some time to develop. And you're not going to sit in front of your computer. That's ridiculous. That's why you use these notifications. But keep in mind, there's this limitation where it takes the settings for the Trade Scanner Pro at the time. So if you're in counter trend mode, it's going to stay in that mode. Stian saying that. Thank you, Stian, for clarifying that. All right. So when you're using the Trade Scanner Pro for confirmation, you must come to the market with an idea. You have to surface an idea before you use the Trade Scanner Pro. The Trade Scanner Pro confirms ideas. So if you just take a trade for the sake of taking a trade just because a signal shows up, you're just playing a slot machine. The idea is to come to the market with some sort of premise. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So we start out with a larger time frame. Now, we're assuming that you're working on a smaller time frame. Can I use a Trade Scanner Pro on free TradingView chart? Yes, you can. I just explained that. You can. So you can use TradingView for free, and you can use the Trade Scanner Pro for 14 days for free as well before you get billed. But you could use the free version of TradingView, to be clear. All right. No, Nuri, my prices are very low to begin with. I'll talk about that there in a moment. So I'll explain that. Anyway, if you want a heads up, just go here. Just go to the Trade Scanner Pro. I'll put the link in the channel now if you want to take a shortcut. There's a link in the description, but I'll get to that here in a moment. I'll explain all that. TSCPRO, right? I believe there. If you go to this URL, if you go to that URL, it'll take you to the Trade Scanner Pro website. It'll take you here, which explains everything. But I'll go over that here momentarily. I want to continue the trade example. So you have to understand when you're looking for trade ideas, right? You have to work with 2 time frames. Now, Steen, I have some ideas to maybe consolidate this so that we can only work on 1 time frame. Again, I thought this was simple, but I may be wrong. Okay, for beginners. So you're going to have your action time frame where you actually take the trade. That would be this chart. So this chart, which is a 15-minute, I'm going to change this to a 1 minute, right? Because this is where I'm going to take the trade. Because I know this in advance. I'm interested in day trades. I'm going into this with this mentality from the start. So if you're going to swing trade, or if you say, okay, I'm going to work on a 15-minute, you must do this from the beginning. Before you even look at the chart, you must know that piece of information. You don't look at the chart first and then decide, oh, I'm going to do this on a 1 minute. You don't do that. So you first arrive, you come to the market with your idea in mind, right? So I know I'm working on a 1 minute. So that's going to be my action time frame. So I'm going to put that over here. But before I can work with that, right, there's a signal, great, but I don't know what that signal means. I have to first evaluate the bigger picture and surface my idea, right? So let's make this bigger over here. This is my 1 hour chart. So I'm using a 1 hour to get the context for my 15-minute. What's Steen's saying over here? Okay. Okay, yeah, Steen's answering Prophet's question there. Okay, thank you, Steen, for your answer. So you have to gather what's called context. Context is where you take the components of trend and support and resistance levels, and you evaluate them in such a way so that you get a better idea of what the market wants to do. So you can align yourself with the market. That's context. That's where the idea comes from. And then the Trade Scanner Pro, you use that to confirm, because the context is going to tell you if you should be working on the side of the trend or not. And when you're talking about 1 minute charts, this changes a lot. That's why I don't recommend 1 minute charts. I'm showing it to you because there's a lot of action on 1 minute charts, and you can see the script in action, which is really cool. But as a beginner, you need some time. You need to spend, that's how we give you a 2-week free trial, but really you need to work with it for like a month or 2 to get an idea, to do this process properly, especially if you're full of misinformation, which you have to get out of your mind. All right, it takes some time. And I do these streams every week in hopes that you come here and basically treat it like a training session. It's like a free training session. I'm teaching you how to use this. You can ask me questions about it and everything, and I'm happy to answer them. Steen is here to answer questions. Alex is here. They're also in the Discord community. If you have problems with the setup and stuff like that, there's plenty of support. All right, now, so I'm using the 1 hour chart to get context for my 1 minute chart. Following me so far? So let's move forward. This is my 1 hour chart. The trend is pretty clear to see here. Now, my trade scanner is off on this. I'm going to turn it on. All right, I turned it on. You see this, the trade scanner defines the current trend on the 1 hour chart as bullish. It says it right there. Okay, you want to make sure you keep an eye on that because it can change. Now, is this thing correct? Well, look, I see higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, no higher high yet, but the higher low is still intact. That low is higher than this low. So yeah, I agree. The trend is bullish on the 1 hour chart, right? On the 1 hour. Okay, cool. So this is now going to help me shape my decision making for my 1 minute, so I know what to expect. So as Sam mentioned earlier, he was asking, do we have a double bottom on the 15-minute, which we could still see on this 1 hour? Yes, we do have a double bottom. Look, okay, there's two bottoms. Plus, that double bottom came off of a previous resistance and now is acting as a support. Okay, cool. That all lines up. Great. So that is giving me some sort of premise here. What that's telling me. Oh, but before I get into that, let's talk about the resistance, right? So we've defined trend, we've defined supports. These are my resistance levels right here, okay, on the 1 hour. Now, I may be able to go back a bit and see, like, do they line up with anything? Look, is this a coincidence? Look. So, look, I have an old support back here. Look at this. Old support, support over here. What a surprise. Look, resistance over here. Does it line up? Pretty close, right? See that? See that? Resistance. Resistance. Okay. So that I've defined my general trend for my 1 minute. Again, I'm trying to get context for my 1 minute. I have to keep emphasizing that. This is not a swing trade I'm looking for. This is not an investment I'm trying to make. I'm only interested in going long for a few minutes, perhaps capturing a couple of 100 points. That's reasonable on a 1 minute. That's kind of high, a lot on a 1 minute, but that's all I'm looking for. I know this in advance. So I have some levels here. Okay, so support level in a generally bullish trend tells me that I should be looking for long confirmations at this level. Okay, I am now arriving at an idea. What price is that? 62,843. Right now we're at 62,365. I'm sorry, 63,345. I can't see. 63,345. So that's a good, what, 500 points lower? So 500 points lower is where the support is. Okay. Where am I at right now? What is this? How would you guys characterize the current location? Let's see if you guys are paying attention. And Steen, you're allowed to answer this also. Sometimes I tell Steen he can't answer because he knows all the answers. I want to give some new people a chance. What this current level where I'm at, where price is at right now. And by the way, everything I just showed you, you can apply this to any market. Doesn't matter if it's NASDAQ. It doesn't matter if it's oil. It doesn't matter if it's the S&P. It doesn't matter if it's a stock. It doesn't matter. You can apply these concepts because we're talking about support resistance. We're talking about trend structure. We're talking about price action. So it applies to any market. You know, you want to do this with Ethereum. You want to do this with some garbage, PP coin. You can apply these ideas to PP coin. Although you want to apply momentum concepts to things that exhibit momentum. Usually well-known, better capitalized markets exhibit momentum. So Steen says, current resistance, previous support. Well, all right, Steen, that's a good try. But what I was trying to get at here, I mean, is Steen the only guy here? Anyone else? You know, thank you, Steen. Maybe people are shy. Don't be shy. I'm not going to like humiliate you or anything. This is the middle of the range. I mean, we can argue that this is an old resistance, blah, blah, blah. Like we can make that argument, Steen, but yeah, mid-range. So that's important. That's important to recognize because that means I don't have a support or resistance here on the 1 hour. This is not a great location is what that tells me because the middle, what good is that? Anything can happen here. This is 50-50. I don't want 50-50. That's gambling, right? That's like a slot machine. I want something where I can anticipate a repetition, a repetitive behavior. Well, buyers typically buy support, especially in a bullish structure. I can anticipate a repeat of buying at around this area, right? But we're not there. So if I was going to short something, I should be thinking short up here, right? Not in the middle. Anything can happen in the middle. Anything can happen. Now, so what do I do then? Well, I have a few choices. Marco, hey Marco, minor resistance at mid-range. Okay, so yeah, we can argue minor resistance. Yes, we can argue that. But I see mid-range, and I don't like mid-range because again, I know that. Then here, let me draw a little rectangle here. I know that in this area right here, anything can happen. It can go a little higher, it can go a little lower. It's going to be shaky, right? I really don't have any levels to anchor to. I don't have anything. So what do I do? What do I resort to? Do I just short this thing because it popped up a bit and blah, blah, blah? No, I resort to the trend to give me an answer. The trend is bullish, okay? Higher lows, higher highs. So I suspect that there's going to be more support than there's going to be anything. In fact, these resistance levels are less likely to hold. Okay, so if the price managed to go up there, I should be very weary about taking confident shorts, meaning taking a short and expecting a lot from it. Perhaps I should even take smaller size. If you're working with larger positions, you cut your position in half or a quarter because lower expectations for such a level, because it's going against the bigger picture until proven otherwise, right? You may still get a short off, but it may not be worth a whole lot, right? So you want to align yourself with the intent of the market. That's what we've just determined here. The intent is generally bullish for now. My support is here. So my highest probability location, we're just not there, right? But the general momentum is bullish. So that means for my 1 minute, I'm not going counter trend, okay? My 1 minute, I'm planning to go with the trend. So that brings us to the 1 minute. So do you see, I used my larger time frame to arrive at some sort of idea. How should I use my Trade Scanner Pro? So when I go to my 1 minute, right, notice my 1 minute is bearish. See that? But we just finished talking about bullish. So in fact, there's a trade that's in play right now on my 1 minute. It's a bearish trade. See that? So this is going to be tricky because my support, as we pointed out, is here. That's where my support is. This is middle. This can go either way, but the general trend is bullish. So I want to try to work on the general trend. If we were at a key resistance, like I just pointed out, I would be much more interested in this signal. So do you see now how I'm filtering out this signal? There's a signal there, but I'm not jumping on it because it's against the bigger picture. It doesn't align well with the bigger picture. I suspect that this short signal is low probability, right? You guys follow me on that? So most beginners, signal, jump on it, right? No, you have to filter a little bit of work. As you see, it's not a lot of work. I arrived at an idea, and I want to work on the long side. So I'm not going to get misled and confused by all this stuff. I'm going to look for the long, but at this moment, there's no long. This is not a long right now. So what do I do? Who wants to tell me? My trend here is bearish on the 1 minute, not on the 1 hour. The 1 hour carries all the weight. So I want to look for a bullish signal. I'm going into this with an idea. I'm trying to work with the bigger picture momentum. We're not at a major support. So my trade probability is probably going to be less, but it's going to be just as bad for my short. You say, well, then go short then. It's going to be 50-50 either way. That's the problem with the middle. So I know this going into it, right? But so if I'm going to pick a side, I'm going to pick the bullish side because we're not at a resistance, but the general structure is bullish. So the general structure is what wins out here. You see that? If the general structure was bearish, then I'd be all, okay, let's work on the bear side. I'd be looking for this. I'd be trying to play the short here. So you see the bearish, the bullish structure, the market intent tells me what to think. I'm not coming up with my own grand idea here. The market tells me, and now I say, okay, so I have an idea of what to look for. How do I find it though? Who can tell me? I have become a better trader listening. Cool, Giovanni, I like to hear that. At least someone appreciates me around here. No, I know all my regulars, they appreciate me. It's the new guys that I got a problem with. All right, so who wants to tell me? How do I find longs here? We have a signal here, but like I just said, this signal, I suspect, I could be wrong, by the way, But I suspect that this signal is low probability for all the reasons I just gave you. Right? So just to kind of recap while you guys are coming up with the answer. Again, how do I go long here? How do I do it? How do I use a Trade Scanner Pro to confirm a long? Anyone want to tell me? Steen says what? Counter trend. Right? So I know many of you beginners, you're going to have a hard time with that. But what I do here is I go here to my control panel and I turn on counter trend. All right. Now I'm looking for longs. Now I suspect I am aligned with the bigger picture because the bigger picture told me long. Now, Steen, I'm hoping to come up with a way so that we can basically bake that into the smaller picture. And so we don't have to do this bigger picture analysis because I suspect I lose a lot of people on the bigger picture analysis part. For me, it's easy, but a beginner like maybe overwhelmed. Oh, I got to do this. I got to look at a 1 hour, so, and plus I'm showing very advanced examples with day trades. I mean, so, I'm just trying to be aware of that. Anyway, after a break of resistance, what resistance? We haven't broken anything. Again, Nuri, the bigger picture is what determines what I'm looking for here. The bigger picture, right? Not the 1 minute. Again, don't make the mistake of being mesmerized or confused by the 1 minute. I've made the decision based on this, the 1 hour. Now, the best price for me to go long would be here, but we're not at the best price. And I want to show a trade example, right? So I'm kind of, if we had all day to do this, I would simply wait for this area to get reached. But I don't have all day. And I want to show you guys an example. So I'm going to take a much more aggressive trade. And I have to hope it works out. But I realized going into this that this is a 50-50 because the location is less than ideal. So ideal longs would be here. Ideal shorts would be here, up here. We're not up there. So I'm not going short in a general structure that's bullish, right? I would go short if the general structure was bearish. So I don't know what you mean when you say break resistance. What resistance are you talking about? There's no support or resistance in here. Not really. This is the middle of the range. Okay, very tough spot. But so I'm going with the general structure, which we've determined is bullish. Okay. Now the Trade Scanner Pro tells me that this trend is bearish. Here's my long signal. So I'm going to buy. Let's see. I'm going to buy 3 contracts. We'll start with 3. Okay. So I'm long 3 contracts. Okay. Of the futures now. So now notice the signal appeared. This is my stop loss. See the red line? Now I have to respect these numbers. It's not going to automatically get me in and out. I took the trade based on this blue line, which is the entry. I have defined risk on this long, which is here, which it can go there, by the way. And then I have a profit objective, which is up here. That's the 1.5 to 1 reward risk. So in terms of money, how much is that? Let's see. Or in terms of points. So my risk is 88 points. Not bad. That's about standard for a 1 minute chart. Okay. The larger the time frame, the greater the risk is going to be. So like if I was doing the risk on a 1 hour, it would probably be, a couple of 100 points or like 500 points, right? But 88 points. Okay. Now what's my reward objective? It's going to be 1.5 times that, which is 134 points. All right. So I'm risking 88 points to try to make 134 points on a 1 minute chart in a 50-50 location. So again, not the best location to do this, but let's see what happens. This is what the Trade Scanner Pro does for you, right? So we got the confirmation, the risk was defined, the profit objective is defined. And now my decision-making process becomes very simple. Either we go to the stop and I have to blow it out for the loss, or we start working our way higher and working toward the profit objective. The thing is, I cannot react to the candles. So I got a red candle here, right? And I really should not react to that candle. You have to let the trade play out now. The decision-making process has become very simple. I get out here on this red line, or I get out here on this green line. Now, what if it wants to go beyond the green line? Well, that's called the trailing stop. And I have that turned on. If you see over here on the control panel, trailing stop is checked, right? So there's no trailing stop present yet because it takes some time. The trade has to move for some time for the trailing stop to appear. But it appears as like an orange line, and it'll look like this. And based on every closing candle, the trailing stop will move and start to follow the trade, okay? And the idea is so that it's constantly reducing your risk. And for example, if this trade manages to get up here, for example, the trailing stop may reach break even, which in that case, my risk becomes risk-free. And if for whatever reason, Bitcoin gets stupid and decides to break this resistance for whatever reason, because again, markets are random, there's no forecast here. I don't know if it will, but if it does, the Trade Scanner Pro embraces that random event and the trailing stop will follow the trade. So what that does is instead of taking your profit at 1.5 to 1, which it's wise to take maybe something off the table. I bought 3 contracts. I'll sell 1 there if I can. But if I can hold on to 2, what if this thing runs 2 to 1? What if it runs 3 to 1? The trailing stop increases the chances of me being able to capture more. That is what puts you ahead over time, okay? The 1.5 to 1 generally should increase the chances of that, but the key really is capturing broader moves. And in wild markets, when the market just doesn't pull back, I've seen Bitcoin moves that just return ridiculous numbers, 10 to 1. They're rare. It's not like that happens all the time. But the thing is, I could never capture 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. I could never capture that using standard conventional things. You just have to hope for the best. This thing gives you a definitive price. Okay, it goes back to the trailing stop, you get out. You're never going to get the top or the bottom with that. Like you're never going to get the best price, but it keeps you in winning trades longer. That's the whole thing. Okay, so this isn't working. Let's see if I get knocked out. Again, like I'm not going to react. You just have to let the market do its thing, right? That's how this works. So it's good if you see a losing trade because losing trades happen. I warned you before that this is a random area and anything can happen here, right? I don't like 50-50 areas, but I want to show a trade example. So the ideal long would be here, all the way here at the bottom here, right? This is the ideal location for a long, not up here. But I took the trade up there because there was a signal and I wanted to work on the side of the trend. So now, Giovanni, you bring up a good point. Dollar cost average. No, not in this situation. All right. So I just got this tap to stop. Let me get out of this thing. So I got my 3 contracts, get out of them. All right, I'm out of them. I should be out. Let me click on this thing just to make sure. Yeah, I'm out. Okay, no, you don't dollar cost average this. Okay, this is not the time frame for that. If you were going to dollar cost average, actually, you want to do it when it's going in your favor, not in this situation, especially a 50-50 area. This can get you into a lot of trouble. So I'm glad you brought that up. This can get you into a lot of trouble. Going, trying to dollar cost average, because what if it goes all the way back to here? It can, and then you get stuck in this thing. Or if some news comes out and this thing decides to break 3,000 points and you're on the wrong side of it, bad idea. Trust me, I've tried. It's a bad idea. So what am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to wait for the next signal. So that short signal was I guess you could say was the better choice, but again, it was 50-50. This could have worked too. It was either one, right? The market just chose this one. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm out, and I'm not going to jump back in, right? Now, is this going to change my mind as far as should I go short now? Some people would change their mind. I'm not, because let's go back to the bigger picture. The bigger picture is what matters here, not the smaller picture, right? So we're just getting closer to support. The trend structure hasn't changed on this time frame yet, right? It hasn't changed. So I have to recognize that. If I go short now, I'm reacting, and I don't want to react. I want to anticipate. When you react, again, you get into all kinds of trouble, right? All this thing is going to do, you watch, right? It gets back, it pulls a little lower, you're going to see a pin bar, right? You see a bullish pin bar, and now you're stuck on the wrong side, on the short side. Notice it keeps giving these green columns, right? It's giving us warning or a heads up that the next long signal is coming soon. So, okay, let's see what happens. All right, so I'm not doing anything. I'm out. I'm flat. So I got caught in that a little bit, about 88 points. maybe a little bit more, maybe 100 points there. All right, that's to be expected on a 1 minute. Like I said, this location was less than ideal, and it could have gone either way. Okay, this could have gone either way. So you can't judge it after the fact. Oh, you should have went short. Not this location could have gone either way. You have to recognize that. Now, the low here, I would expect the reversal to go long. I could be wrong. It could break. That's possible, but that would be a new piece of information at that point, right? And that's a loss that can happen as well. There's no 100% certainty in this game. What protects us from that is how we control the risk. That's the only way. All right. If you're looking for like exact ways to do things, buy bonds, or sell insurance or something. You're not going to do it here. All right. So we're getting some warnings here. I like to see that. So I'm still confident on the long side, although I got stopped out, right? No problem. Look at the warning. Look at the warning. So a new signal is likely to appear very soon. Once it appears, I'm going to buy it again. So I'm not going to do any early entries. By the way, see this little green arrow? That's the previous trade. And I can look at that trade and see what was the loss on that. It says, look, minus 89 pips. So when you turn on your previous trade history, that's what that tells you. So that trade was a losing trade, right? We saw I took the trade. It was a losing trade. But for trades that you haven't taken, you can click on these things, just roll over them, and you find out what the outcome was, right? Which may not be clear on the chart sometimes. So got some, I like the warning. I like the warning. Remember, I'm still in counter trend mode. Okay. It says it right over here. I'm still in counter trend mode, and I want to be, because I'm still trying to play that bigger picture long momentum. Now, it's possible that the momentum may be changing and I may continue to go long something that's changing, but we're not there yet. So I can't make that judgment until the market proves it. And it may cost me some money to do that. So in those situations that might be confusing, it's best to usually just stay out and let the market become clear again. All right. But right now, I'm willing to give it another long a chance when we get the signal. If you're super aggressive, you could start going long now on these warnings, but that's super aggressive. If this thing just continues lower and lower, then you get caught in it, right? I've showed examples of that, but I don't want to show stuff that's too aggressive, because I don't want people starting out with highly risky things. This is risky. This is like highly risky enough what we're doing here. So this is on paper, by the way, because I don't trade real money at this time. I'm not going to do that, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday when the market's closed. So let's see if we get that signal. On 30 month, it's 30. Yeah, Nuri, it's $30 a month. Yeah. If I'll talk. In fact, you know what? Let's see if I want to keep an eye on the signal, but I could talk about that real quick now. If you go to that link that I have put here, let me put the link back on. The link is in the description. Here, I'll put this is the link. If you go to this link, it takes you to this page, right? This is my Trade Scanner Pro page. The Market Signals Pro is my website, and this is the page. So it explains how it works, tells you about me, and then it takes you over here where you can register for your 14 days for free, right? So if you pay yearly, it's $22.50 per month if you pay in advance, right? That comes out to $270 per year, right? So you're saving 25%. And if you go monthly, it's $30 a month. Now, I'm telling you right now, we're raising that price. So if you want $30 a month, lock it in. I know I've been saying that, but once we have our extensions, I'm raising the price. Okay. Also, I'm also considering, not for the Trade Scanner Pro, but when we do the other, the Trade Scanner bot, I'm most likely not going to have monthly subscriptions anymore, because I really don't. People don't appreciate the monthly subscriptions. Let's just put it that way. So I'm probably not going to continue those, right? But people that are in them now, yeah, those will continue as long as you're a subscriber. So anyway, yeah, it's $30 a month. I'll show you in a moment. When you sign up, I'm waiting for the signal because I know the signal is going to pop up. When you sign up for the $30 a month, you have to make sure in the sign up form that you include your TradingView username. If you're someone that's not really good with that stuff, like here, there's a signal. Hold on. Let me just do this real quick. Okay, so all right, I'm long again, 3 contracts on the entry price. Okay, on the long, I'm long again. Let's measure the risk just to see how many points is that. 78 points. Okay, So it's about, so you're gonna look at about 80 to 90 points of risk. And my take profit is like 115, 114, 115 points. Okay. All right. So now I'm in that trade. Let's see how it plays out. So as I was explaining with the Trade Scanner Pro, when you sign up for this, okay, and you go here and you click on this button here to subscribe, it takes you to the sign up form, right? Now, here's the important part. Please pay attention to this. Over here on this field, it says TradingView user. You have to put your TradingView username. Well, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Is that the right one? Oh, that's the right one. TradingView user, right? You have to make sure you put your TradingView username in there correctly. If you do not, you will not receive the invite. So like I was just saying, if you're not very, like if you have a hard time with computers and stuff and you're kind of, then don't sign up for this. All right, because I can't, like I get emails, I never got my invite, and then I check the thing and they never put a TradingView username in there. Like people don't listen. If you don't know how to put the tool on your chart, like if you're not familiar with that, don't sign up for this. Or if you're not comfortable using Discord, because that's where our support is, don't sign up for this. I want, I'm sorry for people that are like that, but you have to get a little more computer. I'm not saying you, Nuri, but I'm saying you have to get a little more computer comfortable, because I can't sit there and write emails all day about, about how to teach you how to put the script on your chart. Like if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to go through the steps I just showed you to arrive at a trade idea. Trade ideas are 1,000 times more complex than putting the thing on your chart. So just wanted to put that out there. All right, notice, so this one's working. Okay, cool, nice, right? Now, it hasn't gone to my profit objective yet. Let's see if it goes there. I'm going to give it a chance. Sometimes what I like to do in this time, I like to get out a little earlier. I like to blow one out. But for this example, the idea is to simplify the decision-making process. So let's see how this plays out. This may start out nice and then go to the stop. That can happen. Now, in that scenario, if that were to happen, I can always get out for break even if I want and just blow it out. I can do that, but I want to try to give the trade a chance to breathe. Let's just see what happens, right? So I'm not going to react to anything. We'll just let this thing do its thing, right? Or again, remember, we're working on 1 minute charts here. They could be very dramatic and things can change a lot very quickly. I do not recommend 1 minute charts for beginners. A beginner should be working on a 15-minute, a 30-minute, something like that. And you use like a 1 hour or a 4 hour to get your context. That's where a beginner should be. And you use the notifications for the signals, okay? Use the notifications so you don't have to sit in front of a computer. You don't want to sit in front of a computer for 3 hours waiting for a 15-minute chart to show you a signal. This works, by the way, on on smartphones, on tablets, all that stuff. Wherever you can get the TradingView app, you should have no problem with running this, all right? But that's the best way to go about it. Use the notifications. If you're on the free version of TradingView, like Stian pointed out earlier, you can only set up one notification. So please keep that in mind. All right. So let's see what happens here. I don't like these candles, but again, the Trade Scanner Pro has taken over my decision-making process. That's the idea. I don't have to guess. I know where I'm getting out. I'm either going to get out here, which I hope I don't have to get out there, or I'm getting out here. Right? Now, my trailing stop isn't present yet. We need some more time. But eventually, you're going to see the trailing stop pop out. All right, yeah, so Nuri, again, if and anyone else listening, if you have a problem of some kind with the setup, go to the Discord community, and there's a support channel there. That's why Stian set that up. And he's pretty quick to answer if you have questions. But it's pretty straightforward. Like most people, if you're comfortable with TradingView, and you're comfortable putting stuff on TradingView charts, and you should have no problem. Okay. Now, for people, again, that may be slower in that area, that's what we have the Trade Scanner bot for, because the bot just sends you an email. You don't have to mess with charts. You don't have to get your hands dirty. You just get an email. It's got all the order information on it. It shows you a nice chart with the signal on it, and then you just follow that. Okay. So that's if you go to get to the bot, if you're interested in the bot, you just go to the home page of the website. Right, which pretty much looks the same, but these packages right here, because you can go by asset class. This is the Trade Scanner bot, and then you can just click on one and order a bot if you want. But again, the Trade Scanner Pro is more for hands-on people that are interested in managing the trades themselves. Day traders, swing traders, people that are more hands-on. All right. So look, this trade pulled all the way back into my entry price. That sucks, but what am I going to do? It's up to the market now, right? So hopefully we hold. Maybe we don't. I don't know. Price action is very random at this time. I'm in a random location to begin with, right? So notice, though, it's a good thing that this movement right here, I was not reacting to it because I would have been short then, right? And if I shorted the bottom of this, how many times have you been caught in that situation? It looks like a short, you short it, and then it does this, right? That's why you don't do that. That's why you don't react. You don't flip. Now, let's see if this may go to the stop. I don't know. Let's see. Now, another thing that can happen is this thing may turn around at some point inside of this risk area. It may turn around and turn green again. So, for example, it may give like a red candle that looks bad, right? It may do something like this, like, okay, here we go. Going to get stopped out again, right? And then out of nowhere, it does this. If I see something like that, that is where I like to add, Giovanni. Like that's where if I'm gonna add, that's when I like to add. When I get that second buy signal, like when we retest the entry price and then we turn green off the entry price, that's when I like to add, if I'm gonna add. Not when it's just going against me and then just putting on more and more and more, because you can get into trouble that way. I want momentum. If I'm gonna add, I want momentum going my way, not going against me. All right. And even then it could be problematic. But now look, here's the trailing stop. It took some time. See it? It's starting out there. Now the speed of the trailing stop can be controlled, by the way, for more advanced users. This trailing stop speed is right here. If you look, where is it? So trailing stop mode, see that regular? You can change this to tight or loose. So tight is obviously going to keep the trailing stop very close to the price, where loose, it's going to make the trailing stop move slower. That's advanced. That's an advanced feature. I would only use that if you're advanced. If you're beginner, don't touch it. Just wanted to mention that it's there, though. Okay. Forgot to trim. Well, yeah, you know what, Giovanni? I normally, I normally take something off here. I normally do that. But I wanted to just give the thing a chance. Just like, let me be hands off today. This thing is either going to go to the profit objective or I'm getting stopped out. Let's see what the trade scanner wants to do. Let's see how this thing guides me without me intervening at all. But like I said, I do like to take, when I see movements like this, where I get like a pretty quick spike like that, I like to take something off. At least one contract, I like to take something off just to lock something in. It's a good habit to get into, even though it's not at the price objective, because I know 1 minute charts and I know how unreliable they are. Okay. So thank you for pointing that out, Giovanni. So I haven't forgotten. I just chose not to do it. Okay. The buy signal came at a minor support. Yeah, you can argue that. You could say that this is a minor support area, but the thing is, don't judge support and resistance levels on a 1 minute chart. The support and resistance levels need to be defined on a larger time frame. So really, Giovanni, this is not exactly a minor support when I pull up my 1 hour. My support is here. We're not there. Okay, so that's why I call this area random. Anything can happen here. You know, I mean, if you want to use like maybe, I don't know, a 15-minute or something, you want to argue that, okay. But this is my support. And if we're not there, then we're not there, right? And I'm basically playing a random game here. But I knew this going into it. I explained it before I put on the trade. If this was real money, I probably would not get involved. Or if I was going to get involved, it'd be small, one contract, because this is highly random, right? I want less random. Less random is going to be here at that line. And we're not there. I mean, look where that line is. That line is all the way over here. Look at that. That's a long way to go, right? That's where less random is. That's really where I should be confident with my buy signals, not where I'm at right now. Does that make sense? So there's a couple of lessons here. I hope that the beginner trader can understand why why this price action is not exactly working out. It's because the location is less than ideal. And this is what happens when you force trades. It could have worked out. And if it worked out, I would have told you the same thing. I would have said it happened to work out because it's random. Okay. I wouldn't sit there and say, whoa, my great skills and my great knowledge and blah, blah, blah. And the trade worked out because I'm an expert, right? No, it would have just been random, right? For the same reason it's not working out would be the same reason it worked out. You need to understand that concept. Now, this may go to the stop. It may not. Let's see. It's a 1 minute chart. These are highly random. If it goes to the stop, I got to blow it out. See, how are we doing with time? Okay. Yeah, if this goes to the stop, we'll see like when I get the next warning. But as you can see, this is not, this isn't following through. But the nice things that you have here, again, the risk is defined. So this prevents me from getting stuck in a position. And my profit objective is also defined. We never got there, but that gives you a reasonable expectation based on this time frame. So you don't sit in this thing and be like, oh, this thing's going to go to 70K and I'm going to hold on to it. Not on a 1 minute chart. You're not. So that's the great thing about the Trade Scanner Pro. It defines these things for you so that you don't have to. And it gives you something to work toward, or it simplifies your decision-making process. The trades don't always work out. But, again, that's the nature of the market. Your location is very important. I picked a random location. Anything could have happened. Now, I chose the long side because the general structure is bullish. But that doesn't guarantee anything. I just chose that side in hopes that the buying activity will continue, but obviously not. Okay, the buyers are not interested. Not in this area, they're not. So nothing I can do here, but let it get stopped out, and I'll blow it out. There it is. So let me go back here, and let me blow this. Actually, I can just do it from here. Blow it out. Okay, out again. Turn that off. Okay, so look, now what does the trade history tell me here? So I lost 74 pips or points on that, right? Now, we can still get another buy signal here in this area, but I'm not going to go for a third one, right? I tried two. They both failed. This one had a little potential. Like this one almost reached its profit objective, but almost isn't a win. I could have gotten out. I could have broken even on it when it went back to the entry price. But like I said at the time, let's let the script guide me. And this is the outcome. Okay. So again, you have to try this out for yourself. Look, another buy signal is likely to develop here. Keep in mind, I'm still in counter trend mode. And you may say, well, why aren't you switching then to shorts? And like I said, I'm not switching to shorts because this isn't exactly short yet. Because by the time I switch, if I switch to shorts now, look where I'm shorting this thing, right? So here, let me get out of this one, back to this. Look, that thing is going to be a buy signal again. Look at that. They shook me out. Well, the stop was there. You have to respect the prices. There's another signal. All right. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I got 3. Okay. Hopefully this one gives us, I'm going to do it. I have a few more minutes. Let's see what happens. I may have to close the stream while the trade's still open, but let's see what happens. So it gave us a third buy signal. Okay. What's interesting about this buy signal, again, I don't have the best locations, but I'll tell you what I like about this one is this is what's called a failed low. It's hardly lower than this low. See that? There's a relationship there. Failed lows, usually what happens in these situations is you have shorts, people who react because they don't know any better, and they start shorting it like right here. And this is what happens to them. They get squeezed, right? Because again, the general trend is bullish. So you're shorting something on its lows in something that's generally bullish. That's a highly risky thing to do. That's why I'm not shorting this thing. I may get stopped out a few times on these longs, but you have to work with the market until it proves that it's changed. And in order for it to change, it needs to break the supports. The problem here is the supports are way lower, okay? For me to start thinking of this thing as a short, we need to break this. Then I'll start thinking on the short side, okay? Or we go to a resistance, which we're not at. So shorting it at lower and lower prices within the context of a bullish trend is a high risk thing to do. If this thing goes straight to the stop, that's it, I'm out. I'll get out and that'll be that. But it's important to see because this can happen. Now, another thing I have to point out, which I really haven't mentioned much, is the time of day. This is not exactly the best time of day. Now, I've taken many trades in previous streams where they worked out at this time of day, but this is not a good time of day. The stock market's closed, and Bitcoin's usually very random around this time. It may react to like news that comes out about certain companies. It's possible that it may react to certain things, but usually this is not a good time. Usually you want to, if you're going to do this, what I'm doing here, this is something you want to do at like the market open, 9:30 a.m., that kind of thing. Or at least while the market is open, not after the market close. Usually it's not a good idea. This is when I stream, so that's when I show the examples. But there's been plenty of profitable trades at this time. It's just not a time I would encourage you to day trade Bitcoin. It's definitely going to be more random. Okay, I will run the program manually. Grant you, I bought it. How long does it take for it to be? All right, Nuri. Yeah, Stian's gonna usually. Okay, he never gave me a chance to mention it. Thank you, Stian, for stepping in there. Usually, when you subscribe, it takes up to an hour to receive the invite. Okay, so it could take a half hour. It can take usually no longer than an hour, unless Stian steps in like he's doing, and then you'll get it right away. But up to an hour. So if anyone else subscribes, just wait. You'll get the invite within an hour. If you don't get it within an hour, chances are you put the wrong TradingView username in. That's when the bot will not send you anything. It's automated, so the bot has to recognize your TradingView username, right? So if you don't have that in there correctly, you won't get anything. And then you'll send me an email. Oh, it's been all these hours and I haven't gotten my invite. Then I check and I see you have no TradingView username in the field, right? So make sure you put the TradingView username in, and within 1 hour, you will get the invite. And then you just apply it to your chart and make sure you go to the control panel. You'll also get an email with some links to some previous videos that I've done to kind of give you some idea of like what I showed you here. But make sure to watch that that stream that I mentioned from July, because that's very detailed about the steps to arrive at a trade idea. If you don't watch that video, you're more likely going to just react to just random signals that pop up, and you're not going to get optimal results. And a lot of people make that mistake. Okay, I don't want you to make that mistake. So for optimal results, watch that stream. Again, it's on my YouTube channel. It's in July. It's like the 5 steps to better signals, it's called. Watch it. So it'll give you step by step what I went through here of analyzing the bigger picture, coming up with an idea, and then waiting for confirmation. Because the trade scanner is a confirmation tool. It's not a forecasting tool. All right. Now, so this trade over here, I mean, back to the entry price. All right. Again, trades look very random. They look very dramatic on 1 minute. One thing I want to mention, again, for more advanced users, sometimes a trade signal may take forever to show up on your 1 minute, right? And in those instances, you may have to look at a smaller time frame. When you're dealing with 1 minute, smaller means 30 seconds, 15 seconds. I've done examples on 15-second charts. I don't recommend that at all. And plus, you have to have the most expensive version of TradingView to get those sub 1 minute charts. But I mentioned this because if you're working with a 15-minute chart, for example, and you're like, man, signal's taking forever, or there's a move that looks like it's starting to develop and there's no signal, you can jump to like maybe a 5-minute chart and there'll be a signal there, right? That's the signal. Sometimes it doesn't appear on your time frame. It can be tricky like that, especially when you're messing with counter trend. So just something to keep in mind. Again, that's something you have to learn over time. I don't expect you to know that just by like you using this for a couple of hours or a couple of days. All right. So yeah, look at this. This thing just stinks. It just doesn't want to. It just doesn't want to get the rally. Just doesn't want to happen. All right, no problem. Let me pull up my. I'll just blow this thing out again once it goes to the stop, or maybe we get a green candle. But these candles, they look a lot more dramatic than they actually are. You know, and remember, I'm losing like what 80 points each time here, or whatever. I mean, on one contract, that's $80. That's not bad. It's better than losing hundreds of dollars, you know, or thousands of dollars, which is what you're exposed to on larger time frames. Or if you decide that you want to hold on to the move and then get caught in something, right? You don't want to get caught. That's why you have to respect these levels. Look, I'm getting another warning. So you see, they may shake me out of this, tap me out, and then a new buy signal appears. That can very easily happen, but I'm not going to do a fourth one. So I tried 3. They don't. There it goes. All right. Doesn't want to cooperate. Out. If I look at this, 61 points I lost on that one. All right. What am I going to do? So I'm risking, you know, in that case, 61 points to make 1.5 times that. The market's not cooperating. That's what happens. 3 signals here. You watched me take all 3 of these signals. This one had potential. The middle one had some potential and then just never got to the objective. And this thing's just turned to garbage. I'm just curious, what does counter trend look like? I mean, what does trend look like? Has this thing been calling trend trades? Let's see. No new trend trade. See, here's something interesting. It only called the trend trade up here, right? So this, what was this trade worth? 158 points, right? This trade was worth 158 points, which means it got closed a long time ago. And pulling back, as you can see, there are no new short signals, right? Remember, I started getting involved at this area here. No new short signals. So this is an example. Like if I go to a 15-second chart, watch how many short signals you're going to see. Look at that. 15-second chart. Look at that. One over here. What was this worth? 42 points. All right. How about this one? What was that worth? Well, that one was a losing trade. 19 points. Okay. Any other ones? No. So 2 short signals, and only this one was the winner. Interesting. Okay. But that's what you have to do to get to those. If you're trying to work on that smaller time frame, that's what you have to do. I'm not going to recommend that. That's back here. I'm going back to the 1 minute. And that's that. Here's the thing. And Steen has pointed this out as well. I'll just say this and then I'll wrap this up. When you catch a winner, and the winner, especially if it runs, it makes back the losses. That's the whole idea, right? That's why you risk 1 to make 1.5. Or you risk 1, the trailing stop kicks in, and you make 3. If I had a 3-to-1 winner, you realize, right, I had 3 losing trades here. If I have a 3-to-1 winner, you realize these trades, these losing trades get wiped out with a 3-to-1 winner, right? So I had 3 chances. They all failed. You catch 1 winner like that, that's how the game works. And this is what puts you in position for that. So sometimes you have to be patient and you have to deal with a market that's reluctant, you know, like we talked about. Here's another signal. Look at that. I'm not taking this one. Watch this one go. Watch this one be the winner. I'm not taking this one. But if you want to follow this on paper, you know, be my guest. All right. Notice these lows. They're still kind of like in a common area here. It keeps trying. It keeps trying. See that? So it's good to see. And the reason why you can't flip to short, because you're going to get one of these is going to run and you're going to get caught on the wrong side if you short this thing. All right. Steen says, I'm also thinking on changing so that when the trade goes to a percentage of the profit, it has in sight that will move the stop loss to break even. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I have some ideas too, Steen, about making some updates even to the script here. That may add some visual value and try to condense everything to, instead of having to go with 2 time frames where we get the readout from the larger time frame, but it's projected on the smaller time frame chart, right? So we'll talk about that because I want to simplify the process so that's easier for people and less work. Because I thought working on a 1 hour and, doing some brief analysis. I thought that was easy, but again, I've been doing this a long time, so it's easy for me, but it's not easy for a beginner, I guess. So I want to see if we can simplify that. Anyway, okay, it would be a setting. Okay, cool. All right, you guys. So any questions? I've been streaming now for almost like an hour and a little over 90 minutes. Any questions about this? So if you're interested in signing up for the Trade Scanner Pro, Nuri, thanks for joining. By the way, so you have 14 days. You can cancel anytime. And if you don't cancel, you get billed. But for anyone else, you can go to the Trade Scanner Pro link that I have here on the screen. You could sign up for it here, right? It's $30 a month, or it's $270 for the year. If you pay for the yearly, you're saving 25% on the monthly. But that monthly, by the way, is going up. So that $30, I've kept it since we started this. I've kept it at $30, and each week I talk about how we're going to raise that price. But once we have our extensions, which Steen is working on, I'm raising the price. We don't have the extensions yet, okay? But when we do, you're going to see a higher price. So lock in your $30 now. All right, people, if I don't see any questions, again, I want to thank you for taking the time with me here today. I hope you learned something valuable, whether it was about the confirmations we talked about before or about how the Trade Scanner Pro works. I hope you learned something. If you have any other questions, you could reach me at mark@markbmarkets.com. You can also go to the Discord community. We have a support channel in there. We have a main channel where people talk about stuff and ask questions. Alex and Steen are usually there to respond. So, you can do that. Or you could send me a message here on TradingView. I usually answer within a reasonable amount of time. Sometimes it takes me a little longer, so please be patient, but that's the best way to reach me. And by the way, if you get a message from me, like on Discord or on Twitter or something like that, or you get a message from Steen or Alex, and we're asking you for money, or we send you to a website other than Market Signals Pro, then most likely it's a scammer. Please don't be scammed by the scammer. They do this all the time. We don't initiate messages. I don't send you messages. Steen doesn't send you messages. Alex doesn't send you messages. And we certainly don't ask you for money. But if you ask us questions, yes, we're happy to respond. All right, so please be aware of that scamming thing. I don't want to hear, I thought it was you and I gave him this money. Please don't do that, because they take advantage of these people all the time. All right, if you get a strange message like that, report the person, block the person, make sure, because they use a profile that, they copy the profile and then they try to scam you. So please don't be scammed. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. So again, thank you all for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for watching.